Bienvenue au forum All Candidates Debate. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's our pleasure. My name is Clare. I am president of L'Atelier de Clare and the Maison de Ron, which is our local adult day care or day center for clients, and as well as our residential home. Tonight we wanted to bring the candidates together in an opportunity to talk about issues for persons with disabilities and special needs. On voulait mettre les candidats ensemble pour en discuter des issues au courant pour des personnes avec des déficiences ou avec des special needs. En tout cas, je voulais juste mentionner comment est-ce que le forum va travailler. I'll just give an overview of the forum. If you gentlemen would like to have a seat there, that's fine, and we'll take it from there. Yes, I want to introduce my lovely assistant, Trudy Benjaveni, who's done a great deal in helping prepare for this evening, and put a lot of effort into the questions and certainly the format. And I'm just going to describe a little bit about tonight's session and how it's going to work, and I'm going to pass it over to Trudy for a couple of comments, and then we'll get right into it. So, essentially, we want to bring the candidates together to talk about persons with special needs and persons with disabilities in this effort just before the election, in an effort to hear what our potential, our new MLA is going to have to say on behalf of persons with special needs. So tonight's forum will take place as such. Beforehand, last week, all candidates received an information packet. So tous les candidats ont reçu une paquet d'informations sur les matériaux au sujet des personnes avec des déficiences. So we sent them 5 basically packages of information. One was on the UN Charter of Rights. The second was support services for persons with disabilities. The third issue we want to touch on was transportation. The fourth issue was housing. And the fifth issue was employment of social enterprise. So on pensait que ces 5 thèmes-là sont des thèmes principes. Comment est-ce que les personnes avec des déficiences vivent quotidienne. So as it will go, we will ask the questions. So they received 5 questions in advance, and I think there's some of them that are out there right now. If you want a copy, there should be some in the audience here. Behind you is a list of how the session will go tonight in terms of timing. Each candidate will have 3-minute opening for their opening comments, and each candidate will receive 3 minutes for each question. Candidates will ask the question, can answer in English or French. We have somebody translating in French here for the English contingent here tonight. So les questions seront demandées en anglais, comme vous avez devant vous, puis vous pouvez répondre comme vous voulez in English or in French. It's in French, and then this is my wife, she'll translate into English. Okay? Sound good? Trudy.
Welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see a whole new group of our wonderful community present here. Sorry. Anyway, I appreciate that all of you are here now, and I think we should just get on with the show. We've got a good time and 3 wonderful candidates here to speak on behalf of the issues for persons with disabilities. Thank you all.
Okay, we're going to get right into it. So, I'm going to ask each candidate to give their opening remarks, and we'll start with Dean Kenley. Dean?
Bonjour. Comment ça va, everyone? How is everyone? First of all, I'd like to thank Terry, the facilitators, the organizers, and attendees in this college. Number one, you guys are very fortunate to have this kind of a facility here, this incredible building, and you're such a special community here to have this college right here in the heart. It's just amazing that what can be done here at this facility. My name is Dean Kenley, and I am the NDP candidate here for Clare Digby. This is my first time running, and I don't have a lot of background in politics. My background has been in business. So as far as this special needs goes, I didn't have a lot of skills in previous other than working through my business. So I've had to do a lot of research in the short period of time, and it's been a real eye-opener for me. However, what I have found is the NDP is one of the lead governments in programs for special needs. And I'm very proud to be representing here some of the programs. I have to do a bit of reading tonight because I do have a lot of information that's based on the programs that the NDP does offer. So bear with me, please. For many years, communities have been struggling to come up with programs and facilities to assist persons with disabilities in our region. In recent years, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which Canada is a signatory, have provided us with 8 specific guiding principles that our government have made a commitment to follow. Changes in policies have begun. Framework planning is underway, and a fluid stream of communication between the Department of Community Services and the community partners is continuing. Denise Patterson-Rayfuse, Minister of Community Services in Nova Scotia, is highly committed to make all the necessary changes to facilitate daily living for persons with disabilities and assist community groups to do so. I'm willing to work closely with her to ensure that the clients and partners in our riding receive the best service available. It is a great challenge to ensure that people are not suffering today, while at the same time we have to plan for the future while moving towards a system where people can have choices. We did not have choices in Nova Scotia because of the long-term neglect of past governments addressing assistance programs for people with disabilities in rural areas. It was not a priority for them, and the NDP started to change that. Before the NDP government, there was a real planning of support programs for people with disabilities. This resulted in long wait times and the need to be addressed before the infrastructures had not been built appropriately. The NDP is committed to change that, and I will work diligently with all our partners to facilitate the delivery of necessary services, programs, and housing to people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Candidate number 2, opening remarks. Paul-Émile Leblanc.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Mon nom est Paul-Émile Leblanc et je suis le candidat PSA pour Clare. Il n'y a pas de doute que moi, on va parler plus de mon expérience personnelle, à cause que moi, ça fait dans mes 20 ans à travailler dans la région de Clare avec la caisse populaire de Clare. Je vais démontrer que nous travaillons très bien avec toute la société, incluant le monde qui a des besoins spéciaux. So there's no doubt in my work in the last 20 years, I've done a lot of work with people with special needs. So I'm going to let my personal actions dictate how you will judge me on this issue. I'm a father of 3, and I've lived here most of my life except for 5 years. Il y a des programmes où on travaille très fort à la caisse, c'est le programme de Medagan Capsite. Le Medagan Capsite a été en existence pour à peu près 12 ans, à peu près, Robichaud, la présidente ici, qui a apporté me corriger, mais je crois que c'est à l'entour de 12 ans. Puis on a travaillé très fort pour faire sûr que le site était accessible à du monde avec des besoins spéciaux, avec l'équipement, logiciel et puis avec de l'équipement. So we worked very hard at the Medagan Capsite to ensure that persons with disabilities were able to use the equipment. We made sure that we had specialized equipment, and this was long before somebody decided to mandate that it should be done. We were leaders in the Capsite, and we got a lot of funding from government over the years from various levels to help us deliver those services. Another organization we've supported quite well over the last 20 years is L'Atelier Clare. You know, with selling of their artwork during Christmas or their art crafts and artwork through many projects, consultations with management and staff and board volunteers to ensure that, you know, that their business plans, you know, that they wanted advice on many projects, and our doors were always open.
1 minute.
Okay. And another one is le transport de Clare, avec comme la présidence avec le Chambre de commerce de Clare et avec le travail avec la case. J'ai démontré que je pouvais travailler avec le transport. On était un des premiers commanditaires du transport quand le transport a commencé. And we feel that the transport of Clare is very important and a very integral part of our community. And now that all of Clare Digby has access to the transport of Clare, it's very important that we continue with this. So I'll leave my personal actions speak for themselves with my record over the last 20 years of working with persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Paul-Émile Leblanc. Merci, Paul-Émile. Our third candidate tonight, Gordon Wilson. Gordon, go.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. C'est un bon jour pour moi aujourd'hui. Je m'étudie à l'Université Sainte-Anne pour 6 semaines et l'Université Sainte-Anne est très spéciale pour moi. Je n'ai pas bilingue, mais je n'ai pas bilingue. So, good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a special day for me today. I studied at the University of Sainte-Anne for six weeks and did the French immersion here, and being back in the school is very special for me, and I thank you all for coming today. I just want to talk briefly about myself, who I am. I'm 57 years old, born a little while ago. I'm married for 37 years, and 3 children, 2 grandchildren. I've spent most of my career working for the province of Nova Scotia. I was employed with the Department of Natural Resources for 30 years. I spent most of my time traveling the roads and the back roads of many of the parts of this county, this riding. And my last 7 years I've been with the municipality of the District of Digby as their Deputy CAO. I have to say that the last 7 years has probably been the most rewarding for me, as far as engaging communities and learning what makes things tick. I'm very proud to say that I've worked very closely with the town of Digby, the municipality of Clare, and the municipality of Digby in serving the people of our communities. I've gained very valuable information on what makes things tick here, and I think as an MLA that's extremely important, and I'm hoping that everything that I have learned and everything that I will continue to learn, I'll be able to serve you and go forward as a good MLA. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. I'll ask Hélène to translate. I should have asked it earlier, but what Paul-Émile's comments were.
He did repeat everything.
Okay. He repeated everything in English, so anything he said in French, he repeated it right back in English, okay? Merci, Paul-Émile. Merci, Gordon. Merci, Dean. Next, we'll get started with the questions that were issued ahead of time to the candidates. And as I said, we sent out a package of materials, so it gave the candidates an opportunity to become familiarized with the issues at hand and understand the issues as persons with disabilities, many who do not have a voice, need to ask the right questions to the right politicians. And I'll ask Trudy just to give a preamble of the issue. The first one is the UN Charter of Rights.
Hello. I felt that the opportunity to have this as an awareness raising session was so great that I decided that I would write preambles to every question so that all of you that aren't too familiar with the issues would know more about it when you leave here this evening. Anyway, I'm going to start. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. In 2010, with full support of the Government of Nova Scotia, Canada ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Signers of this international agreement are required to, quote, promote, protect, and ensure the full enjoyment of human rights by persons with disabilities, including effective accessibility and inclusion in society, freedom from discrimination, and the freedom to make their own choices about living arrangements and other needs. Motivated by the convention, jurisdictions all across Canada are changing their approach and methods in favor of a more person-centered, inclusive, and non-institutional model of care for persons with disabilities. The current movement in Nova Scotia to transform service delivery reflects that intention and is not owned by any political party, but by the people of Nova Scotia. It should be actively pursued, regardless of which party wins this election.
Okay, 3 candidates. The question. What is your party's position with respect to Nova Scotia's responsibility to implement the UN Convention on the rights of persons with disabilities. For instance, will your party consult with the disability community, families, and service providers to develop an action plan for implementation? Quelle est la position de votre parti sur la Convention des Nations Unies pour les droits des personnes avec des déficiences? Par exemple, seriez-vous prêt à consulter auprès des communautés, des familles et des agences pour développer et implanter un plan d'action? We'll ask the number one candidate, the first candidate tonight, Dean Kenley. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Once again, thank you. The NDP certainly supports the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. There are many firsts in the province relating to that was implemented by the NDP government. In 2009, when taking portfolio, the Minister of Community Service was appalled at the neglect that had been shown to the people with special needs in the province for decades. The NDP has been committed and has already made changes and plan to make many more services to special needs people. In many areas, the NDP have been transforming the service of persons in needs within the department itself. We've created a framework to facilitate the service to persons with disabilities. They want all the departments to consider people in need when making a decision. They will empower them through policy changes to enable our departments to make the necessary changes at all levels and avoid delays in the delivery of the service. This framework policy will enable all departments to consider the needs of disabled people when making our decisions. This will require cultural change because for decades it is not the way the system has worked under other governments. We are implementing a new system to fill the gaps. We want the system to move from a reactive process to a proactive system. For the first time in the history of the province, we have brought people together to work on this. Advocacy groups, people have been working towards community option living, people who work in residential community living. Our Premier has moved away from institutionalizing special needs people. There is constant changing and requirements going on with the disability and special needs, and our government intends to work in parallel with all groups to make the change appropriately needed in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Dean. Paul Emile? Go.
Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on supporte ça complètement. We do support it completely. There's no doubt that it's very important that everybody in our society is included and everybody has access to all services. Moi, quand j'étais au collège à St. Mary's dans 1978, j'ai rencontré un gars, Clare de Robichaud. Et puis, on va vous dire, quand j'ai rencontré Clarendon, moi, j'avais aucune idée dans 79, quoi c'était les barrières que le monde avec des besoins spéciaux avait. So I met Clarendon back in 79, and we were roommates at St. Mary's University. And I never understood what barriers that people with disability had. And at that time, I learned firsthand what Clarendon went through to try to orient people or to train people into having, accessibility to buildings. We had a lot of issues back then with accessibilities. So when I came to Caisse Populaire de Clare, one of the first things we did was we put automated door openers on all our buildings because it was very important that that people that could access the building could come in. But that's just a small part of what can be done. The whole community has to come together, including government, private sector, and individuals, in order to make sure that we're an inclusive society. There's no doubt that in our platform, we do want to extend the tuition support program for people with special needs to have access to education, because education is paramount in getting people to be able to access education services, jobs, and other services that might be available. So it's very important that we have this information available. Moi-même, je suis j'ai été orienté d'une très jeune, de ma jeunesse, de faire sûr d'avoir ces services disponibles. So as your MLA, I would certainly work and continue to work like I've demonstrated in the last 20 years or 30 years of my career to people persons with disabilities to ensure that they have access to all these programs. Thank you.
Merci, Paul-Emile. Thank you, Paul-Emile. Gordon?
Firstly, what is the UNCRPD? So it's an international human rights treaty of the UN intended to protect the rights and dignity of persons with disabilities. Parties to the convention are required to promote, protect, and ensure the full enjoyment of human rights by persons with disabilities and ensure that they enjoy full equality under the law. Now, I'd like to point out that there's a lot of, there's an opting out clause in that. So that's important to know. But the intent is, and this is what the Liberals certainly recognize, is that in good faith, we're going to accept the responsibility of that document. So this convention has served as a major catalyst in the global movement, from viewing persons with disabilities as objects of charity, medical treatment, and social protection, to viewing them as full and equal members of society with human rights. And out of that, we developed a roadmap. A roadmap is available. It's a roadmap for transforming the Nova Scotia Services to Persons with Disabilities program. Canada, in partnership with provinces, signed the convention back in March 2010. So, to answer the question directly, yes, when a country ratifies a convention in partnership with provinces, both levels of government accept the responsibility to implement the articles. Both levels of governments are duty bearers also, important to know. In Canada, 14.3% of Canadians live with a disability. In Nova Scotia, 21%. Yes, we will include the disability community in the development of an action plan. There is a motto used within the disability community which states, "Nothing about us without us." A Liberal government will respect this motto. Our Liberal platform, this document here, speaks clearly to Article 9 within the Convention. We have committed to the development of accessible legislation, and I'll read, also, to create a more accessible Nova Scotia for persons with disabilities by appointing an accessible advisory committee with a mandate and strict timeline to develop accessible legislation for Nova Scotia. And I'm very proud of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. Merci beaucoup. Before I get to the next question, I just wanted to say that ce programme ce soir a été diffusé par CIFA. Merci à Lynn et son équipe. This evening's events are being on direct by CIFA, Radio CIFA tonight. So thank you, CIFA. Also want to say thank you to University of St. Anne for allowing us to use this South End. Next, we'll move into the theme of support services. Trudy?
Nova Scotia spends close to $1 billion annually to provide services to persons with disabilities. The system that administers these programs is outdated, inflexible, and unable to fulfill the complex health care and support needs of clients and their caregivers. Program directors and service providers are doing their best with limited resources, but often operate in crisis mode. Nearly 1,000 people remain on waiting lists for services, and more than 60% of available public funding is still being directed to residential institutions, even though those outcomes have been less than satisfactory. Two initiatives, Putting People First and Transforming Services to People with Disabilities, have emerged from extensive consultation with clients, family members, service providers, and government. Guided by the UN Convention, a strategic roadmap has been developed to restructure the system to one that offers more flexible choices and funding options. This long-awaited plan will not only change services, but how and where they will be delivered. Investment in supported living in communities is key to this transformation.
restructuring services will take years to achieve and requires long-term commitment and collaboration from several government departments. Many stakeholders have contributed to this agenda, and it merits endorsement by all parties.
Thank you, Trudy. Question. What is your party's position with respect to the Transforming Nova Scotia Services to Persons with Disabilities program? Will your party commit to this program and allocate the necessary resources? En français, quelle est la position de votre parti en ce qui concerne Transforming Nova Scotia Services to Persons with Disabilities, le programme de services pour personnes avec des déficiences? Est-ce que votre parti s'engage au programme à contribuer les ressources nécessaires de ce programme? And we will start with candidate number 2. Polymid, thank you.
Oui. La réponse est oui. On a besoin de le faire. We have to do it. There's no doubt that we need to commit the resources, but it fits right into our platform. Our platform is Change That Works, and we definitely need to change the way we deliver these services. We do spend $1 billion in this province per year, and there's no way, there's absolutely a better way to spend that money and put the resources in the right places. So there's no doubt that we are fully committed to working with this document. I read the executive summary because I didn't read the whole document, but I read the executive summary, and I did meet with people in the industry, in the special needs in the Clare area to help me understand the document that was written, and it was consulted by all stakeholders, and it's very important that we adopt it. Il n'y a pas de doute que notre plateforme suit le change qui travaille. Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on dépense $1 billion dans le système de testeurs, et puis c'est important que l'argent soit dépensé à les bonnes places. Puis il n'y a pas de doute qu'il faut prendre une nouvelle direction, de point mettre du monde dans des institutions, puis trouver des façons à qui pourront vivre, soit eux-mêmes, ou avec une aide d'aide, ou bien avec plus d'aide s'ils en ont besoin, ou s'ils en ont beaucoup d'aide, il y a des différents niveaux qu'il faut construire. So it's very important that we have, housing, and we have services available for people that need very little aid, and we have people that need, a small amount of aid, a lot of aid, or needs the full gamut of services. So it's very important that we all work together to ensure that this is done, and it will take time, there is no doubt, but we have to look at how we're spending our money and make sure that it's spent at the right place. Thank you.
Merci, Polymid, and he basically translated in English what he said in French, so no need for my lovely French assistant to respond. But she would have anyway. Mr. Wilson, merci.
Thank you very much. I'll refer to this roadmap again. I'm just going to call it the roadmap, but it's the roadmap for transferring the Nova Scotia services to persons with disability programs. So the roadmap is a great start and a great piece of work. Unfortunately, it was started in March of this year, 3 years after Canada signed the UN Convention. If government had started consultations earlier, we waited 3 years. The announcement held mere days before an election call, which outlined a roadmap, would have been better showcasing at least a roadmap project instead of simply of announcing intent. It's very important, I think. As an example, if government had started to consult on the development of Modern Homes for Special Care Act 2 years ago, we would have had new legislation now. I'm proud of our Liberal history and the role of our party, the role our party played when it comes to flexible funding options and flexible choices. It was a Liberal government who introduced the pilot program for self-managed care for persons with disabilities close to 20 years ago. And it was the Liberal Party, under the leadership of our leader, Steve McNeil, who worked hard when he was community services critic to ensure it became a province-wide program. Just for background information, recommendations of the roadmap: establish a single entry point for programs and services for people with disabilities, demonstration project to help families develop their own community-based housing solutions, working on new legislation to replace the outdated Homes for Special Cares Act, And furthermore, the recommendation of the Kendrick report sounded eerily similar to those found in the roadmap. Now, the Kendrick report recommendations said money to be redirected to more flexible supports for individuals, and users of service and their families should be able to govern local housing projects. A new Liberal government will work to ensure we begin a journey of improving for persons with disabilities using the roadmap as our guide. We won't do as a government is what this NDP government and the previous Conservative governments have done, which is to completely disregard the work that has been done and start all over.
Thank you. Candidate number 1. Yes, the system is outdated and we are making changes. We have done that with community services itself, with the position for people with disabilities. We have brought the restoration approach tactics. There are over 2,000 employees with community services, and we are working hard to empower these changes to all levels to move the service delivery at the grassroots level towards individual needs rather than a system need. If we entertain a system need process, people fall through the cracks. The key is to change policy, because policy instructs our staff on what to do, and that is what we have to actually start with. We have changed several policies and we have several more to change. We have increased support in terms of respite care. We have increased support for individual families who look after their loved ones at home. But there's also more to do, and we want to be able to increase those levels. One of the challenges we have is to transform from what we have today to a better delivery service without making people suffer. One of the reasons why we have such a long wait list is because there was never any planning financially by previous governments to address the resource issues. But we are extremely excited that for the first time we have a plan. That plan was created by the disability community, their advocacy groups, and the people working in the Department of Community Services. All came together to set this plan. We've expanded our work beyond the Department of Community Services. Health and education departments are critical, and also including in putting people first to include people with disabilities. Absolutely, we will work with all communities to allocate necessary resources. We are the party who for the first time took the time to work with the community in Nova Scotia using the report that was submitted. We have not changed a thing in it. That shows our commitment towards the community to move forward with a better service. We have brought together the disability community, and we have worked with them, including Michael Kendrick, who wrote the report 10 years ago, but moving towards community options. For the first time, we have a pathway of transforming for persons with disabilities. We made a commitment to move towards individual funding, case-by-case needs. It's all about choices. People with disabilities have as much right as everybody else, and that is what we do not have because of the lack of planning in the past, so we have started to make it a priority. Thank you.
Merci, Dean. 3 bonnes réponses à la question, 3 excellent answers, and hopefully people in the audience here are able to understand a little bit more from each of the parties, those positions on services, support services. And I just would say, if you find that one of the candidates is saying something that you like, you're allowed to clap. You know, they like to hear it too. They're interested in hearing your feedback. So if you hear something you like, let them know, okay? Because obviously it's something I want to know too. If you like it, they like it, we all like it. So there you go. Next, we're going to talk about transportation. It's something that's dear and near to many people's hearts. And I'll ask Trudy to read the preamble, please. And we'll start with candidate number 3, Mr. Wilson.
Nova Scotia at 21% has the highest percentage of persons with disabilities in all of Canada. This translates to over 3,500 persons in Digby County. With seniors over 65 now comprising 30% of our rural population, this number is rising at an alarming rate. Note also that Digby County has almost 1,200 kilometers of roads. Access to transportation impacts on the wellness of the community by enabling residents to enjoy the benefits of social, educational, employment, and recreational opportunities, as well as access to medical services. Many citizens with disabilities live on low fixed incomes, and the demand for door-to-door transportation is ever increasing, along with the price of fuel. Community transit needs strong leadership, collaborative vision and support, and dedicated operational funds to become sustainable.
Thank you, Trudy. So, if elected, what concrete actions and financial commitments will your party deliver to make community-based rural transportation sustainable? En français, si élu, quelles actions concrètes et engagements financiers ferez-vous pour avoir un service de transport en commun viable? Gordon Wilson, please. Merci.
Thank you, Terry. I'd like to start off with saying that I'm very proud to live and possibly have the opportunity to serve in the Clare Digby riding, because that's where community-based transportation was born in Nova Scotia, thanks to a lot of good, hard-working people. In 1997, that'll be 17 years ago, a volunteer group started what is a national model right here in Clare. In 2012, it expanded into all of Digby County. What started in Clare has also expanded into 14 other communities throughout Nova Scotia. I know you probably can't see that map there, but that is an example of the Rural Transportation Association membership organizations. Also, I'd like to point out that in 2011, that organization logged 1.4 million kilometers in rural transportation. It took $520,000 of provincial investments through grants and by partnership with municipalities, local businesses, healthcare groups, fundraising and fairs, and grew the provincial investment into $2.3 million. That's a pretty amazing feat by that group. And hey, we got our first applause. I'd like to point out, to answer the question, and again, I'm going to refer to this document. This is our platform, and I'm very proud of it. Our Liberal platform speaks clearly to a commitment to make community-based rural transportation sustainable by committing an additional $500,000 per year, every year, to community transportation assistance program budgets, firstly. Plus, this commitment almost doubles the existing budget in this program right now. In addition to that, I'd like to note that we're investing $1 million in public transit and community-based transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. We have known about Nova Scotia being the province of having the highest rate of persons with disabilities and the oldest population in Canada for years. And the other parties have also known this for years. The lack of planning and the lack of vision by previous governments have left us in the position that we are in. And in 4.5 short years, we have made inroads. With respect to transportation, we have created transportation working groups. There have been many sessions where communities have come together to provide their suggestions and their opinions with respect to transportation. We know that this is a key link for people in Nova Scotia. Digby County has transportation arrangements for people with disabilities, thanks to the great involvement and the successful planning of the founder, Clare Robichaud. We also have a regular schedule with King's Transit in parts of Digby County to facilitate transportation of the people who have more mobility. The community and our government to continue their participation in planning to improve their services. The NDP also provides Transport to Clare with approximately $36,000 annually in financial support for their operation. Community transportation is a high priority for the government. We know that it is something necessary for people with disabilities and seniors to have access to transportation. And rural Nova Scotia and in government is working very hard to provide opportunities and choices to the people. It's also an obstacle as far as special needs and employment opportunities. We have many people with special needs that have the will to work, but transportation is a challenge. We need to work closer with the communities and these work groups to iron this out and make things smoother. Thank you very much.
Merci, Dean. Bien dit. Thank you. Pauline?
Dans notre plateforme, on supporte tous les modes de transportation dans notre province. In our platform, we support all modes of transportation, including community-based transportation. Il n'y a pas de doute que le transport de Clare est un exemple, pas rien que national, mais international. Ça a été reconnu à des conférences internationales pour le beau travail qui a été fait. Puis il n'y a pas de doute que le travail à la pointe, ça n'a pas rendu là ce qu'il est, que ça va pointer les bénévoles sous la direction de M. Robichaud pour faire sûr que le transport a grossi à lorsqu'il a ce. There's no doubt that community-based transportation, the transport of Clare, has had national recognition, but also international recognition, and Clarendon has had to present this model to conferences outside of Canada. So there's no doubt that it's very important that we support community-based transportation, but it has to be a collaborative approach between government, the groups affected, the users, and the community, and the private sector. Everybody has to be involved in the discussions of how to, we can't have 30 Clarendons across the province. So there are some that have duplicated, but it's very hard. So we have to make sure that it's enshrined in our transportation system, that the community-based model must be replicated across the province and help organizations, but they need money. So there's no doubt that all these stakeholders must be involved in developing the transportation strategy for community-based. Thank you.
Merci, Pauline. Okay. Sure, give me a round of applause, people. That's really good. Okay, question number 4. In the 1970s and early 80s, Nova Scotia led all provinces in creating community. Okay. Sorry, Trudy.
Taking my job. In the 1970s and early 80s, Nova Scotia led all provinces in creating community-based living supports. Now we have the highest percentage in Canada of people living in institutionalized care, often a great distance from their home community. Some individuals have been warehoused for years, while others languish on waiting lists, often suffering isolation and disconnection from the benefits of family and community life. Everyone deserves to have a say in where and how they live. Persons with disabilities are entitled to a safe home that is appropriate to their needs, with a variety of community-based services that support independent living and inclusion in their home communities. Many families struggle daily to provide care without adequate funding or supports. A wider range of housing options is clearly required. The nonprofit Conway Workshop Association in Digby administers 3 small option homes, a 4-bed group home, and several apartments in the town of Digby. The Canadian Association for Community Living, Clare branch, administers Maison Geron, a 9-bed group home in Church Point. Both agencies also run day programs. In addition, about 28 people are accommodated at a private residential care facility and 2 small option homes. It's not written here, but with 3,500 people in Digby County living with disabilities, this number only adds up to about 60 people who are actually provided for in what would be considered appropriate housing. That's shocking. CORE, the Clare organization representing disabilities, they haven't completed it, that was my mistake. They are working on a feasibility study and business plan. They've completed their needs assessment. And they are seeking approval for a community home for 4 youths with disabilities. We hope that our new MLA will be proactive and give this proposal serious consideration.
Thank you, Trudy. If elected, will your party address the housing crisis and work towards ensuring that persons with disabilities have access to affordable and accessible housing in their home communities? And the necessary disability supports will be made available regardless of their choice of housing. And I'll just add one comment on there. In your communities, especially in Clare, with the cultural and language differences that we need to ensure maintain. En français, si élu, est-ce que votre parti va adresser la crise sur le logement et assurer que les personnes avec des déficiences puissent avoir accès dans leur propre communauté et que les ressources humaines seront disponibles, quel que soit le choix du logement? We'll start off with Dean Kenley. Dean?
Housing has been an issue in Nova Scotia for a very, very long time. And once again, it is an NDP government that has created the first housing strategy in our province's history. In that housing strategy, there are 4 different pillars. 2 of those pillars focus on persons with disabilities. This is like a puzzle. You did not move just one piece at a time, but several pieces all together. So our housing strategy includes people with disability. It also improves the disability framework strategy in our province. They all connect together. So the housing strategy is focusing on persons with disabilities, on how the houses are constructed, what kind of community options need to be available, because the infrastructure is not there, a result of long-term neglect. The NDP has been very supportive of large building concepts that have been developed. This initiative was started with the previous PC government, and the NDP made the funding available to construct these facilities in Antigonish, Halifax, and the Annapolis Valley. One component is also focusing on seniors, as they are also experiencing disabilities. For senior housing, we are developing a concept where seniors can stay at the home as long as they can. We invested $22 million in home care to assist people, and we know that much more needs to be done. But we had to focus being more financially responsible to permit us to move forward with our programs. Our improved credit rating for the province resulted in us having to pay less interest on our debt. And some of the money being saved will go back into programs which include housing for the disabled and housing in Nova Scotia. We are looking at investing with people in mixed communities based on revenues. This will also include grant programs to help people stay longer in their homes. Thank you very much.
Merci, Dean. Paul-Emile?
Il n'y a pas de doute qu'on supporte tous les aspects et toutes les options qui se mettent dans le rapport. There's no doubt that we fully support all options and aspects on housing. There's no doubt that if there's a community-led and stakeholder-led initiative, those are the most important initiatives that government should listen to. And the fact that the communities are getting together now, and Clare is an example of the report they're working on right now, to look at a different option than what we've done in the past. Governments need to listen to that, because that's where you're going to get your grassroots and your best ideas from. You know, we can read all the reports we want, and we can look at all everything that's happened in our history, and we'll probably just repeat it if we keep reading these reports. But if we actually ask stakeholders what they want and look at those options, you know, then government will listen, you know, to what they have to say. So that is my commitment and our party's commitment. We do want to look at housing options. The housing options that the Clare group is looking at is very innovative. They're trying to look at a new way of providing independent living. And there's no doubt that as stakeholders, as government, we have to listen, but all levels have to be involved. There's no doubt that we do want to extend the caregiver allowance, because we want to keep people in their homes. Another thing we want to do is home care, has to be extended. We have to find savings in our healthcare system in order to ensure that we have an ample amount of home care workers available so that people can stay in their homes. C'est très important de garder le monde dans leur maison le plus loin possible qu'ils pourront avoir. So, c'est important d'avoir home care disponible à plus de gens pour faire sûr que plus de monde reste dans leur maison. So there's no doubt that we need to work collaboratively with this, and we fully support this. Thank you.
Merci, Paul-Emile, and what he said in French is basically what he said in English. Gordon?
Thank you. I'd like to start with saying that the aim is to have a choice in what is best for the person. A person should always feel that when they go to bed, they're at home. That's key. I firmly believe that by committing to the roadmap, I keep mentioning this roadmap, that we will provide a wider choice of housing options. Now, the roadmap refers to the money following the person. This means the Nova Scotia Wheelchair Program, the Transport to Clare, home care, either self-managed or not, and any other technical aids should follow the person. It's an important part of this roadmap. These are but a few of the examples of what is logical to follow the person. Putting people first also mirrors our platform of putting Nova Scotians first, coincidentally. In the last 4 years, $22 million was spent in Pictou Institution for Mental Disabilities. Another $9 million in the last 4 years by this current government was spent modernizing the Cobequid Center. This was opposed by the Nova Scotia Associations of Community Living, by the way. We feel it would have been far better if that $35 million was spent on community housing. To answer the question, yes, the Liberal Party fully supports the recommendation of the roadmap in moving forward with community-based housing.
Merci, Gordon. Okay, we're coming up to our fifth question before we go into a bit of a break. So with that, I'll pass it over to Trudy and the preamble.
This is the employment social enterprise issue. Communities have to find effective ways to ensure that persons with disabilities can participate in and contribute to society in all aspects of life, including employment. Employment provides a sense of purpose, pride, and accomplishment, and becomes part of a person's identity. It provides opportunity to take part in the community and develop meaningful relationships. Benefits to communities include increased social capital and potential economic development spin-offs. Employment support services and skills development are essential to advancing employment opportunities for persons with disabilities.
Merci, Trudy. What is your party's position with respect to the employment of persons with disabilities? Would your party support a social marketing campaign that promotes employment of persons with disabilities? Quelle est votre position en ce qui concerne les emplois pour les personnes avec des déficiences? Est-ce que votre parti supporte une campagne qui fait la promotion d'emplois pour personnes avec des déficiences? And we will start off with Paul-Emile. Paul-Emile?
Il n'y a pas de doute que pour supporter cette initiative, notre parti supporte ça, mais on va vous parler net des histoires pour social enterprise. Tu as besoin de financement souvent pour des programmes que tu peux pas trouver ailleurs. You need financing sometimes for projects when it comes to social enterprise. Back, the previous BC government did enact a new loan guarantee program through the credit union system, and since then, with Nova Scotia Co-op Council and the Nova Scotia credit union system, we lobbied government, and I will give credit to the NDP. They did expand the program to include farming, and now they've included social enterprise. So now there is a guarantee program for local groups to access that do have community-based projects for social enterprise. So there's no doubt that access to financing is very important for some of these projects. Il n'y a point de doute que le social media va jouer un gros rôle dans ce qu'on va faire dans les next quelques années pour développer des systèmes d'emploi et puis des systèmes pour des entreprises sociales. So we definitely need to support social media and its efforts to make sure that that number one, that the issue is known, so that people do know, that there are employment opportunities. But at the same time, with internet and with proper programming and programs, for computers, there is definitely access to jobs that we did not have access before. So it's important that we work with, again, in collaboration with all groups to ensure that we do have access to these programs, we have access to financing, and that we also promote the ability to have jobs, available in our community. But again, it has to be a partnership with the stakeholders, the people affected, with the government, but also with the private sector.
Merci pour les mails. Gordon?
Employment of persons with disabilities, accessibility. The answer is fairly simple. One of the key areas that requires addressing in order to ensure persons with disabilities take their rightful place in our labor market is accessibility. If you can't get into your place of work, if your place of work doesn't provide an opportunity for people to get through the door, how are people with disabilities going to work? It's simple. And our Liberal platform speaks to its importance by committing to legislation. That's where it happens. That's where it starts. I'd like to note that from March 31st, 2010 to March 31st, 2012, there were 33 fewer people with disabilities working within the public service here in Nova Scotia. We're seeing that opportunity go down. Almost 10% reduction. Under the current government, we see fewer people with disabilities employed within the public civil service. There has been some great work done with the Nova Scotia Persons with Disabilities Employability Table. Established by Employment Nova Scotia, this table takes an active and guiding role in building an integrated labor market strategy for Nova Scotians with disabilities. Liberals need to continue to work with the table members to ensure we do a better job on employer engagement as well as education and awareness activities. Yes, a Liberal Party would support a social marketing campaign that promotes employment of persons with disabilities. This NDP government has wasted far too much on advertising and social marketing campaigns on self-promotion of its NDP platform and itself. It's time to start funding campaigns that will benefit our economy, but more importantly, ensure persons with disabilities take their rightful place in the economy of our province. Thank you.
Merci, Gordon. We have a GROW program on social enterprise that we have been expanding. It is very vital that we do invest in social enterprise for people with disabilities so they can have an opportunity to be contributors to the workforce. One of the areas we have been addressing in community services is we have been investing in terms of procurement through the Department of Community Services, and we would like to model that through the province. That means that we want to be able to set up a system with social enterprise that if there are items or services that are required by the Department of Community Services or any government department, the opportunity to do the work can be given to community enterprise. Once again, it is the NDP government who is taking an initiative and developing the framework in order to implement these programs. We already have some in the province. The Conway Workshop is a great example of employment and social enterprise initiatives for persons with disability. Myself and my company in Digby over the years have employed several people with disabilities, and we work very, very closely with the Conway Workshop. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with some of these people, and it's an eye-opener. They take such pride in what they do for your company, and they're so cordial and polite to everybody that they deal with. It's a real special treat for the other workers and employees to see how passionate these people are and care about the duties that you give them. They put so much effort into everything they do, and they're very, very particular about how they do it. We had one individual that worked with us for over 2 or 3 years, and he was so proud to show people the results of what he did. And he did such a great job. In year 2, we started to work with a second individual, and it just so happened that the second individual that we worked with was his brother. And it was so interesting and so rewarding to watch him train his brother and teach him and talk to him, and his brother looking at his younger brother looking at him with such respect that he was teaching him how to do the job that he was doing so well. And it was an honor for us to watch that. They worked with us for quite a few years before they moved on. But over the years, we've worked with at least 4 other individuals, and it's always been an honor and a privilege to work with these people. And we hope to continue the relationship we have with the Conway Workshop, because our company really enjoys this relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your 3 candidates here. Let's give a big round of applause for c'est beaucoup de travail avant pour préparer les réponses, et on travaille étroitement avec les parties. We work pretty close with each party to make sure that they were educated by giving the material ahead of time so they could prepare themselves. So, vous avez vu qu'ils ont bien fait au sujet des personnes avec des déficiences. Because of the fact that we had the 4th candidate drop out and we are a little ahead of time, we're going to take a 10-minute break for the candidates here so they can consult with their campaign. At the same time, we're going to be back. For those who want to go to the washroom, you're going to have to make it quick. The washrooms are up here on the left, so please go. Candidates, you'll have 12 or 10 minutes, and I'll call you back, and then we'll go over the next second part of the forum. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.